So hello everyone, very good afternoon. And in the previous session, we have started desert biome. So we have discussed different types of deserts and how they are formed. All right. Now let us continue. Let us look into the climate, flora, and fauna, and their adaptations. Okay. So we know there are cold deserts and hot deserts. So cold deserts we have already discussed that under tundra biome. So we'll be discussing about the hot deserts. So whatever the climate we are discussing, it is regarding the hot deserts. All right. So we know the characteristics. There is very little moisture available. Okay, so very little moisture in the air to capture and hold on to the heat emanating from the high temperature during the day. So deserts are very cold during the night time. So moisture, if the air is humid, it can capture the heat. Okay, it can hold more heat, or you can say it can remain warm for a longer period. Okay, if the moisture is not enough, so the terrestrial radiation, so whatever objects which have gotten heated up during the daytime, again they will cool down by radiation process. Okay, they will emanate heat. It is not reflected. Okay, reflection is different thing. It is radiated. That means those objects which got heated up, they will radiate long wave. They will emit long wave radiation and they cool down. So if there is not enough moisture in the atmosphere, this long wave radiation will not be captured and it will be lost. So it gets cool very fast. So deserts, they are very hot during the daytime because there is no vegetation to intercept the light. So the light directly falls onto the surface. There is no moisture to reflect the light. So moisture in the atmosphere, it will reflect some amount of the sun's rays. So if it is humid, the soil surface, it will not get too hot because some of the radiation will be blocked or reflected back. If there is no moisture, all the radiation can heat up the surface very quickly, so it will be very hot during the day. During the night time, there is no humidity which can prevent this long wave radiation, terrestrial radiation, to escape. So there is no humidity, so long wave radiation will escape and it will cool very quickly during the night time. So days are very hot, nights are very cold. Vegetation prevents this from happening. If you have vegetation, it will not allow the soil to heat up or warm up very fast. So it will keep the soil cool for a longer period during the daytime. And by blocking the terrestrial radiation, the vegetation will keep the soil warm during the night also. So it will not allow these extreme temperature fluctuations. So vegetation is, that is why important. Vegetation, having a vegetative cover is very important to keep the temperatures optimum. Otherwise, during the daytime, the temperatures will be very high, and the night time, the temperatures will go down very quickly. So combination of extreme temperature fluctuations during the day and night and incredibly low water, low availability of water makes it very difficult for survival. So that is why the diversity here is very less. So temperatures are extreme during the day and night. Okay. Now, so the same thing, these sentences, they are the same that I have explained now. So we don't need to go through them again. Then precipitation. So precipitation is very less, right? So precipitation is less than 25 centimeters. So Atacama Desert, that is in South America, the western coast of South America in Chile. So it is the driest place which has practically no rainfall. So you have fog. Okay, fog is very common because the wind which is blowing from the ocean towards the sea breeze. So it blows over very cold ocean current. Okay, Peru current, right? So Peruvian current. So it forms thick fog, but precipitation is almost negligible. So this fog is converted into water by the local people. So what they do is they place nets. So these nets, they capture this moisture from the fog, and those drops of water will be collected for drinking purpose. So rain normally occurs as violent thunderstorms of convectional type. Suddenly there is a downpour for few hours over small areas. So wherever it has, in case of deserts. So Atacama, there is almost literally no rainfall. In other places, in other deserts, so the rainfall will be for a very short duration, that too only for few days. So precipitation is very low. Then coming to vegetation, so all these things, so temperature fluctuations during the day and night, lack of availability of water makes life very difficult for flora and fauna to flourish here. So still, there are some plants which have adapted to this kind of climatic conditions. So the very little rainfall experienced in desert biomes, okay, as well as extreme daily temperature fluctuations make the life very difficult for the plants. Despite these, there are different types of plants that grow here. Despite all these hardships, plants do grow here. They have adaptations to survive in these harsh conditions. So most common plants that survive in these type of desert biomes include cacti, cactus, small shrubs, succulent plants. So they hold water in their stems or leaves. So they are like, that is why they are called as succulents. Succulent plants and few grasses. They are very common. So plants of desert biome include brittle brush. Then you have desert ironwood plant. So this is your brittle brush. Brittle bush, not brush. Brittle bush. Then you have ironwood tree. It is also common. Then you have chain fruit cholla and jumping cholla. So cholla is basically a cylindrical cactus. So chain fruit cholla, because they look like chain, वो एक के टिप पे दूसरा तुम्हारा बर्डिंग होता है, तो इस तरह से वो दे लुक लाइक चेन, so that is why they are called as chain fruit cholla. And you also have jumping cholla. So chain fruit cholla and jumping cholla, these are cylindrical cacti. So this is your jumping cholla. Okay, so these are spiny cylindrical cactus, jumping cholla. They stick to the bodies or the hair of the animals. So they spread to animals. They stick to the skin or hair of the animals. Apart from them, you also have Joshua tree. So this is Joshua tree, Palo Verde. These are some of the plants that you see in the desert biome. Okay. Okay. So prickly pear, Opuntia, prickly pear cactus. So these are their fruits. So they are very juicy. These are the fruits. So these red color. So Ocotillo and Opuntia. Other plants are soap tree, yucca plant. So yucca and Mojave aster. So these are some of the plants that you commonly see in the desert biome. Now, let us look into the adaptations that these plants have to survive in these harsh conditions. So, so plants, they do have. Is the video okay? Audio and video all right, right? There is no issue with the audio and video. Okay. So let us look into the adaptations. So plants, to cope up with scarcity of water, they have developed certain adaptations. So some have developed long tap roots. They penetrate deep to absorb moisture from the deeper layers of soil. Okay, because on the surface, whatever moisture is there, it is evaporated quickly. So some plants, they send their roots very deep to trap water from the deeper layers of the soil. So they are able to reach the water tables and absorb the water from there. Some other plants, they become dormant until rains return. So during the drought period, they remain dormant. Okay, so their seeds will germinate only when the rain comes. So here it is another plant where it is barrel cactus. So it will swell, it will soak up moisture, it will absorb moisture, and it will store the moisture in the form of mucilage inside its stem. So it has expandable stem for storing water. So in the form of mucilage, just as in the case of aloe vera. So you have seen aloe vera, right? So if you remove the top leather of aloe vera, you have jelly-like substance. Like in the form of mucilage, it also stores water. So some other plants have adaptations to reduce the loss of water from the leaves. So to reduce the transpiration. So whatever moisture is there, they have to conserve it because there is no rain. The availability of moisture is the main limiting factor. So whatever moisture they can absorb, they will store it. Some have waxy coating on their leaves. Some have small leaves or no leaves at all. So this is all adaptations to reduce transpiration. Either they have very small leaves or leaves are transformed into spines, or they don't have leaves at all. The leaves are covered with waxy coating, so to reduce the transpiration. So different mechanisms are available. So all plants lose water through transpiration. So they generally, most of the transpiration that happens is through stomata. So stomata are these openings, small pores through which gaseous exchange takes place. The plants takes carbon dioxide through those gaseous pores. It releases oxygen through that. Okay, and it loses excessive moisture, whatever is available. Excess moisture will be lost in the form of water vapor through stomata. So all these processes, they happen through stomata. These are the small openings on the upper surface and the lower surface of the leaves. Okay, maximum up to 90%, the transpiration that happens, more than 90%, it happens through stomata. So leaves, through leaves, stomata are present on the leaves. So whatever most of the water is lost through leaves. So in order to conserve, either they modify their leaves or reduce the size of the leaf, so that surface area will reduce, so number of stomata will reduce. So some kind of adaptation to reduce the transpiration. So stomata of desert plants like bitter root are small and there are less number of stomata. So okay, so this is the plant. On the left side you have a picture here. So bitter root, the number of stomata is very less and the size of the stomata, the pore is also very small, so that transpiration rate will reduce. Many desert plants, they open the stomata only at the night time. So normally stomata opens during the day. It is called as photoactive stomata. Almost all the plants except few, they have photoactive stomata. So during the light, the stomata will open during the daytime, because photosynthesis happens during the daytime. So carbon dioxide has to enter into the plants so that it can be fixed in the form of carbohydrates. So this gases exchange, so CO2 will enter, it will be fixed in the form of carbohydrates. So during the light time, during the daytime when the light is available, photosynthesis will happen. So majority of the plants, most of them almost, they have these kind of stomata, photoactive. During the daytime they will be activated, that means they open up during the daytime. Some plants, especially xeric plants, those growing in the desert ecosystem, okay, where precipitation is very low. So to reduce the transpiration, they open the stomata during the night time. They are called as SKO. COE है तो स्केल लिख दिया मैंने, सॉरी, इट इज स्कोटोएक्टिव, SCO, not KO. Scotoactive stomata. So the stomata opens during the night time to reduce the moisture loss. तो नाइट टाइम में ओपन होता है. सो नाइट टाइम में वो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड लेता है, क्योंकि डे टाइम में टेम्परेचर ज्यादा होता है ना, तो वाटर विल बी लॉस्ट क्विकली इफ दे ओपन द स्टोमेटा ड्यूरिंग द डे टाइम. So they open the stomata during the night time when the temperatures are low. CO2 will be taken in. CO2 will be converted into acid. So ये तुम्हारा कैम मैकेनिज्म है. क्रासुलेशन एसिड मेटाबॉलिज्म बोलते हैं इसको, कैम. तो ये डेजर्ट प्लांट्स में होता है, कैम मैकेनिज्म बोलते हैं. यहाँ पर रात को CO2 एब्जॉर्ब हो जाता है, इट विल बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू एसिड, मैलिक एसिड में कन्वर्ट करके वो स्टोर कर लेता है वैक्यूल में. सो इट विल बी स्टोर्ड. कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड विल बी एब्जॉर्ब ड्यूरिंग द नाइट टाइम, इट विल बी स्टोर्ड. ड्यूरिंग द डे टाइम CO2 विल बी प्रोड्यूस्ड इनसाइड द सेल्स. सो ओपन होने की, स्टोमेटा को ओपन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. CO2 उसने रात में ही एब्जॉर्ब कर लिया था, एंड इट हैज बीन कन्वर्टेड इनटू एसिड and stored in the vacuole. During the daytime, this acid will break down and CO2 will be produced and photosynthesis will happen. क्योंकि नाइट में ही उसने CO2 एब्जॉर्ब कर लिया, दिन में स्टोमेटा खोलने की जरूरत नहीं है. इट डज नॉट हैव टू ओपन स्टोमेटा ड्यूरिंग द डे टाइम. गॉट इट? सो नाइट टाइम में ओपन कर लेता है एंड CO2 को फिक्स कर लेता है. इट विल कन्वर्ट इनटू oxaloacetic acid. So there is a entire mechanism, C3C4 cycle and CAM cycle. So it will absorb CO2, it will convert into acid, and it will store it in the vacuole. During the daytime, that acid will break down and CO2 will be released inside the cell from the vacuole into the cytoplasm. Then there will be photosynthesis. So daytime में open करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Annual plants of the desert survive periods where water is in short supply because their seeds germinate only after receiving rain. So their seeds, they do not germinate, they remain dormant during the dry period. So वो जो short period है जब moisture available होता है during the rains, only during that time the seeds will germinate and they will quickly complete their life cycle. Ephemerals बोलते हैं इनको. They will quickly complete their life cycle and they produce seeds, and the seeds remain dormant again for long period of time. Again when the rain comes, they will germinate and complete their life cycle in a very short period of time. फिर से वो seeds produce करके फिर से dormant हो जाता है. So they complete their life cycle within a very short period of time when the moisture is available. So these are called as ephemerals. They live for a very short period of time. They remain dormant during most of the period when conditions are very harsh. So they complete their life cycle in a very short period of time. They're called as ephemerals. So ephemerals, 1 or 2 months, within 1 or 2 months, they will complete their life cycle. Then you have annuals, which complete their life cycle in almost 1 year or one season. Then you have perennials that live for a very long period of time, for years. So perennial plants, they endure dry periods and make the most of the scarce water supplies. So they will utilize them very efficiently, utilize the water very efficiently. They will not waste water. So grasses, they have large and complex root system that allow them to collect water over a wide area. So their root system spreads. So they will collect water from larger area. So bunch grasses, they grow in isolated tufts. So you can see them, they're growing in isolated patches. So a bunch will grow here, another bunch will grow here. You can see this is one bunch, this is another bunch, this is another bunch, ऐसे. So they make sure that the surrounding territory, ये जो इसके surrounding area है, it will absorb the nutrients from this region. So there is no competition. Competition को minimize कर रहे हैं. They are growing in groups, and every group is separated from other group. Okay, there is some area in between. So they will absorb the moisture from the surrounding without competing with other groups. ग्रुप रूप में अगर ग्रो हो रहा है तो कंपटीशन नहीं होगा, कंपटीशन मिनिमाइज हो जाएगा. They will grow within that territory and absorb the resources from that territory only. Other group has their demarcated territory. Got it? So bunch grasses, they grow in isolated tufts. So this reduces competition between the plants and assures each tuft has its own territory from which they can draw the water. So there is no competition between each group. They grow in bunches. Okay, they also grow tightly together, which also conserves the void. So evaporation losses ज़्यादा ना हो. And so wind, it cannot enter into, I mean, bunch के अंदर plants के बीच में से घुसेगा wind तो moisture जल्दी evaporate हो जाएगा soil का. So if they are growing in bunches, the wind will not be able to dry up the soil easily. So that bunch will have enough moisture to absorb and grow. Now, then there is saffrut scent. I mean, there is a way I think it is pronounced. Saffrut scent. Saffrut scent shrubs. So that means they have two types of stem. Saffrut scent shrubs. These are perennial plants. They have two types of stem. So they have strategies of both annuals and perennial plants. So they use the strategy of both annuals and perennials. So they have woody base. So base of the plant is woody throughout the year, but they grow leaves or leafy shoots in the spring to allow them to utilize water. So two types of stems are there. So throughout the year it has a woody stem, but during the period when moisture is available, the shoots, they are very fleshy so that they can absorb and utilize the water. So shoots, these fleshy shoots, they will die back when water is not available. For example, Natal saltbush. So ये जो सफ्रुसेंट shrubs हैं, this is a group of, एक category है, एक example जो है उसमें species, that is Natal saltbush. That is the example. This is a group. हम बोलते हैं ना nocturnal animals. So nocturnal animal is a group. Dieback means from the tip towards the base. तो ऐसे सपोज एक प्लांट ऐसे है, सो यहां से सूखना स्टार्ट करेगा. सो इट विल स्टार्ट drying from the tip and slowly the branch will die towards the base. So tip से लेकर base तक आता है, root तक. So die back. So it will start drying up from the tips and slowly entire stem at the base, it will die. So some plants like sagebrush. So sagebrush, they look dull gray. It is because of the hair that is present. So they are covered with tiny hair. तो hairs नहीं बोलना चाहिए. Hairs is not a, I mean, hair and इसका singular and plural दोनों hair ही होता है, but hairs लिख दिया है. It should not be. So it is covered by tiny hair. Leaf hair reflect the rays of sun and protect it from being dried by. So these leaf hair, and they will reflect the sun's rays so that it does not get heated up. So big sagebrush, they grow two sets of leaves. So large leaves, they come up during the springtime. Okay, that allow the plants to take water and grow rapidly. and during the fall of they will fall off during the summer में लीफ जो है वो छोटे साइज का हो जाता है. ड्यूरिंग द spring when the water is available, their leaves are large. They can utilize the water efficiently, carry on the photosynthesis and everything. They will grow fast. During the summer, these large leaves they will fall off, and the plant is covered with small leaves to reduce the evaporation. So दो तरह के leaves होते हैं इसमें. जैसे सप्रूटेंट जो प्लांट्स थे उसमें दो तरह का स्टेम होता है. Woody stem during the summer when the water is not available, and during the period when water is available, fleshy growth will come up. So sagebrush survives due to three levels in the root system. So ये सब तो हैं, they are covered by gray hair. They appear gray in color because of the tiny hair that grows on the leaves. That is one adaptation. Second, the size of the leaves. During the spring and during the summer, the leaves are different. When the moisture is not available, the size of the leaf will be smaller. Then the root system is also at different levels, so that water can be absorbed from different levels in the soil. So these are certain adaptations. So some plants like rabbit brush, they have small leaves to help conserve the moisture so that transpiration rate is reduced. So when there is plenty of water, prickly pear, that is opuntia, okay, so when there is plenty of water, prickly pear collects the moisture in the spongy tissue of the stem, which are called as pads. So cactus, ऐसे जो cactus है ना तुम्हारा, so leaves are modified into spines. This is stem, which is modified into thick spongy tissue. These are called as pads. Okay, so they can store water and utilize this stored water during the dry periods. Okay, so that was plants, all about the plant adaptations. Now let us look at animal adaptations. Fauna. So what type of fauna that you will see? What are the different fauna? So we have camels, bobcats, coyotes, javelina, desert tortoise, cactus, wren. So it is a bird. Desert kangaroo rat. So desert kangaroo rat. So it is a the because of its legs, it is called as kangaroo rat, and it is very peculiar. It has a very peculiar adaptation, that is, it will not excrete, or it will be excreting very concentrated urine, or it will not produce urine at all. So it will absorb whatever moisture is there. So it will not urinate, or if it is urinating, very concentrated urine. So water levels will be very less in that urine. So very few drops it will release. Very concentrated urine. Okay. So again, you have different types of. So some of the animals here I have shown in the picture. So you have javelina, you have desert tortoise, kangaroo rat, cactus wren. So it is sitting on the cactus. You can see this bird. Then Sonoran desert toad. Sonoran desert is in Mexico and southern parts of United States. Then you have thorny devil. So this is a kind of lizard. Bighorn sheep, armadillo lizard. You have pronghorn antelope. So these are some of the animals that you see in the desert biome. Now coming to the animal adaptations. So these animal adaptations are also very unique. So first of all, to conserve the moisture, because water availability is very less. So where do they get their water from? So animals, they feed on the plants. So plants, they have these adaptations that they can store the water, or they remain dormant, right? So those plants that store water in their stem, so they are eaten away by herbivores. So herbivores eat the stem and plants, so they will get their water from the plants. Now carnivores, they eat these herbivores. They are getting the water from the tissue or the blood of the herbivores, right? So conserving water is very important because it is the main limiting factor. So animals, desert animals, they either they don't have sweat glands, so that water is not lost. They pass no urine or very concentrated urine, such as in the case of kangaroo rat. Kangaroo rat, it passes no urine or very concentrated urine. So they acquire most of the moisture they need from the food they eat. So herbivores, they get their moisture from the plants. Carnivores, they get the moisture from the tissue and the blood of herbivores. Okay. So most animals in the desert, they stay out of the sun during the hottest part of the day. Either they remain in the shade of the trees or they burrow into the ground, which is much cooler. So they will try to avoid the direct sun. Otherwise, their body temperature will increase. So most of the animal, they get water from the food they eat. Green leaves, they contain a lot of water. So herbivores, they get water from the plants. Carnivores, they get water from the herbivores, flesh and blood. So there are few animals that can be seen during the daytime. So most of them, they rest, they remain in the shade or they burrow into the soil and remain there because it is cooler. They come out during the periods of the day when there is no, I mean, direct sunlight nahi hai. Not in the midday, but they will come out during the early hours when the sun is not direct. So during the early dawn बोलते हैं ना, सूरज उगने आने से पहले, dawn period or dusk, after the sun has set, so there is still some light. So these animals are called as crepuscular animals. They are active during the dawn and dusk when the light intensity is low. So most animals, they get water from the food they eat. Okay, so these there are animals that can be seen during the, few animals that can be seen during the day. Most animals, they do not come out under direct sun to avoid heat. They remain in the shade. So the ability of birds to fly, ability of the flying allows the birds to cover great distances in search of food and water. They can fly and search for food and water. They can move to long distances. So birds, because flying activity is again consuming energy and the body gets heated up, so they also have adaptation. So flight also enables the bird to leave areas which are extremely hot or cold to move to areas with more ambient temperature. So migration, winter में भी हो सकता है, summer में भी हो सकता है. So feathers also help to insulate the birds from heat of the sun. Their feathers, they cover the body and they will not allow the heat, I mean the sun's rays to directly fall on the body. Then some birds, they have a special adaptation to release the body heat. So owls and nighthawks, they gape open, they gape open mouth. So gaping का मतलब है wide open, opening your mouth wide. So they keep their mouth open and ऐसे वो ओपन करके रखते हैं, सो दैट उनका माउथ का जो कैविटी है या फिर जो भी स्पेस है वहां से मॉइस्चर डायरेक्टली इवोपरेट हो जाए. हाँ. So they gape open mouth while rapidly fluttering their throat region to evaporate the water from their mouth cavities. So water, when it evaporates, it cools the body. You sweat, right? Sweating is a process of cooling down your body when it gets heated up. So when you run, you get sweat because your body is heated up. To lose the heat, you have to lose water. So sweat comes out. So it is a mechanism to cool the temperature. So evaporative cooling बोलते हैं इसको. मटके का पानी ठंडा क्यों होता है, राइट? कूलर, एयर कूलर में वाटर डालते हो तो यू हैव कोल्ड विंड, राइट? कूलर से ठंडी हवा क्यों आती है? पानी डालते हो तो दैट इज ऑल्सो इवापोरेटिव कूलिंग मैकेनिज्म. तो मटके का पानी ठंडा क्यों होता है? इवापोरेटिव कूलिंग. योर बॉडी cools down by sweating. Okay, because water can hold the heat. So if you remove water, body temperature will go down. So many birds, they're active primarily at the dawn, within a few hours, or within a few hours after sunset. So dawn and dusk, they're active during the dawn and dusk. Crepuscular animal बोलते हैं उसको, ठीक है. Most rodents and some large mammals like coyotes and skunks, they are nocturnal. So they do not remain active during the daytime, they remain active during the night time. Okay, so when the temperature is very hot, they will rest and they will come out when the temperature is, or the outside when it is cool. Then you have mule deer and elk. They are crepuscular, they are active during the dawn and dusk. Migration is another behavioral adaptation. So when the conditions become harsh, animals, they move to a area where it is more comfortable. So where water source is available, they will move to those areas. So several animals have evolved long appendages to dissipate their body heat into their environment. So we have seen these. So jackrabbit, mule deer, they release the body heat when animal is resting in a cool and shady place. So enormous ears से तुम्हारा air, हवा जो है, wind, it will come in contact with the ear, and these blood vessels which have dilated, they will, the blood flowing through the ear, it will cool down. So we have seen the mechanism in jackrabbit. So to survive these extreme temperatures, marmots and other small mammals, they enter into a stage of suspended animation called as estivation. So estivation is called as summer sleep. So summer, during the very hot period, they will rest. Hibernation is winter sleep. Estivation is summer sleep. So when the temperatures are very hot, they will rest. Okay, so polar bears, they go into hibernation. So the temperatures are extremely cooler, they go into resting stage, which is called as hibernation. So some animals, they have light colored coats which reflect more light than dark colored coats. So dark objects, they absorb more heat. So their body coat or the fur color is lighter so that they will absorb less heat. So reptiles, they have thick skin, leathery skin, to minimize the water loss. So reptiles, they are poikilothermic, यानी cold blooded है. So their body, they don't have their temperature regulation, their own temperature regulation. So their body temperature will be same as the external environment. So when the temperatures are very cold, they will go and sit in the sun. They go for sunbathing so that their body becomes warm. During the winter, अभी देखो तुमको mosquitoes नहीं मिलेंगे. Mosquitoes will be very less in the cooler areas because temperatures are very low, they are very inactive, their life cycle will be very long, and you can easily kill the mosquitoes in the winter because they are flying at a very slow pace. Summer में मच्छर को मारना मुश्किल है, भागता है, it is very active because the temperatures are ambient. In winter, temperatures are very cold, so it can fly very slowly. So reptiles, insects, they do not have their internal regulation, temperature regulation, so their temperature will be similar to the outside temperature. Okay, so they remain in the shade, they don't come out during the daytime to avoid the heat. Some lizards, they have long legs, so they absorb less surface heat while running. Reptiles, they also enter estivation, that is summer sleep, they also go for summer sleep. Okay, so when deserts cools down, these reptiles lose their body heat. So during the day, when they sunbath in the rock in order to raise the body temperature, if the temperature is very hot, they will remain in the shade or they will undergo summer sleep, which is called as estivation. So There are other animals. There are more notable animals called as camel. So this is called as the ship of the desert बोलते हैं ना camel को. So camel, it can remain, it can go on for a long period of time without drinking or eating. So it can get by without eating food or drinking water because it has a strategy. It can store the fat in its hump. Camel का hump है ना, उसमें fat होता है, पानी नहीं होता. So people get mistaken that stores the water in the hump. No, the hump is fat basically. So fat is stored in the hump. Okay, it also has thick fur under the thick fur and wool to protect from harsh winters. So winters are cold. Okay, in the deserts. So winters are cold. It has a fur to protect it in winter, and during the summer or when the temperatures are very high, so it can remain. It can stay alive without eating or drinking for long durations. So whenever it drinks or eats, it drinks large quantities of water, and it does not store water in the hump. People get mistaken that it stores the water, but no, the hump is basically fat. Fat is stored in the hump. So when this fat gets metabolized, हम भी फैट खाते हैं तो फैट मेटाबोलाइज होता है. So this produces water. It is called as metabolic water. So this metabolic water, this will keep the camel hydrated for a long period of time even without drinking water, because the fat, it gets metabolized, and during this metabolism water will be produced, so that will keep the cells hydrated. So याद रखना, फैट होता है उसके हम्प में. वो फैट जब मेटाबोलाइज होता है तो वाटर प्रोड्यूस होता है, so that keeps the cells hydrated. Their nostrils, they can close. So when sand is blowing or dust storm hai, so their nostrils, they have flaps, नीचे ऐसे close हो जाता है. The nostrils are extended and they close the nose. Okay, so they have two rows of eyelashes to prevent the dust or dust or sand entering into the eyes. Two rows of eyelashes. Foxes, they survive by burrowing or remain nocturnal. They are active during the night time, so they can escape the intense heat during the daytimes. They also have large ears to regulate the temperature. So large ears will help in losing the heat. Their thick sandy fur. Sandy fur, when I'm saying, it is not made up of sand, but the color is light, cream color बोलते हैं ना. ये कलर क्या करता है? It will reflect the sunlight. It will not absorb more heat. It will reflect the heat, or sunlight will be reflected. So white color reflects albedo. Dark color absorbs black body radiation, है ना. So dark objects, they absorb more heat. Lighter objects, light color, they reflect more light. So it is also a camouflage. So what are the threats to this desert biome? Desert biome का क्या threats है? Overgrazing, destruction of vegetation, conversion to agriculture, water and soil pollution, land modification due to industrial operations, mining and fossil fuel exploration and extraction. So these are. एक और भी desertification बोल सकते हो, desertification. So this is not a threat to this biome, but the sand dunes, they enter into other territories. So ये direct threat नहीं है. So this is a negative impact that your desert biomes can have on adjacent biomes. So the sand can drift. So desertification ये कोई direct threat नहीं है, but desertification is a result of if you do not maintain this habitat properly, so the deserts they can extend to other biomes or surrounding areas, increasing the desert. So it is not a direct threat, but it is one of the effect. That was your desert biome. Okay. Now we are entering into the largest biome, that is aquatic biome. Largest terrestrial biome is taiga biome or boreal forest. We are not saying terrestrial. Aquatic biome is the largest because 70% of the earth's surface is covered by water. You know? So in aquatic biome again we have two types, fresh water and salt water. So we'll see aquatic biome and the characteristics. Okay. So aquatic biomes, they are opposed or opposite of terrestrial biomes. So these biome exist in and around body of water. So because water covers 70% of the Earth's surface, aquatic biomes are an important component of biosphere. Largest biome. So, but they have less overall biomass. Terrestrial biomes have higher biomass. So overall biomass अगर तुम देखते हो तो it is less. Carbon sequestration के लिए this is important biome. Aquatic though, phytoplanktons, they carry on more photosynthesis compared to your terrestrial biome. But biomass is less because phytoplanktons, they are replaced. Turnover rate is very high. So they live for a very short duration of time. So aquatic biomes exist in both salt water and fresh water. We know this, right? Around 98% of the Earth's water is salty, with only 2% being the fresh water. So these are some facts. We know all of these things. So let us move quickly. So aquatic biomes are divided into following subcategories based on the concentration of salt. So you have freshwater biomes and marine biomes. So in marine biomes we have oceans and seas, obviously. Size में difference है oceans and seas में. Freshwater biomes में we have, again, based on whether the water is static or the water is moving, lentic and lotic type. So rivers, they are lotic. Lakes and ponds, they are lentic. So whether the water is static or whether the water is moving, freshwater biomes are again of two types, lentic and lotic type. Okay. So characteristics of aquatic biomes. So they are immersed in water, water based. Again, they are a distinct self-sufficient community. So these are characteristics. They're not very unique. Obviously, organisms will live there. They will interact. Water based hai. Now, first let us go through freshwater biomes. Then we can see the marine, right? So freshwater mein we'll see the lakes and rivers. So freshwater biomes exist in water with little or no salt. So as the name suggests, fresh water has no salt. Okay. So standing water and running water. So freshwater biomes are again of two types, lentic, lotic. So when the water is moving, static. Okay, so freshwater biome is extremely important in the world. So these are made up of tiny water bodies like creeks, lakes, streams, rivers. So creeks are very small, you can say, very small stream which is flowing under the trees. Okay, so very small stream, it is called as creek. Creeks, lakes, streams, and rivers. So these bodies of water are fresh and free of salt. There are significant differences between fresh water and salt water. So most of the plants and animals, they cannot survive in the salt water. So they need special adaptations to remove the salt from their body, okay, or to uh, prevent salt buildup in their body. So they have some kind of mechanism. So first, let us look at two standing water bodies. Sorry, standing water bodies. Then we can go for water bodies that are flowing. Fresh water में ही standing water bodies देख लेते हैं पहले. So ponds and lakes are lentic standing freshwater biomes. So ponds are often smaller, lakes are larger. जैसे sea और ocean में difference है, ponds and lakes are also depend upon size. So ponds are often smaller and they are shallow. Ponds are often smaller and they are also shallow enough to allow the sunlight to reach the bottom. Ponds का जो depth है वो बहुत ज्यादा नहीं होता है, only few meters. Okay. Some lakes, they are very deep. Some of the lakes, they are very deep where sunlight cannot penetrate to the bottom. Okay. So lakes, like oceans, they can be divided into zones based on the availability of sunlight for producers. So oceans are again divided into different zones depending upon up to where the sunlight can penetrate. Okay. So here lakes can also be classified into different zones. So we are looking into different zones in the static freshwater ecosystem. So you have littoral zone. So littoral zone is near the bank or nearest to the shore. So here this region, ये पूरा region जो है तुम्हारा littoral region है. So near to the shore. So sunlight, they are very shallow. Near the shore, the depth is low, so sunlight can penetrate to the bottom. So light अगर होगा तो plants growth के लिए, when the light penetrates, photosynthesis can be carried and plants they can grow in this zone. So water nearest to the shore, it is called as littoral zone. So water in the littoral zone generally is shallow enough that sunlight can penetrate and allow photosynthesis to take place. Phytoplanktons and plants that float in the water are producers in this particular zone. So littoral zone is shallow water. It is near to the shore. Sunlight can penetrate and plants can grow in this region because of the presence of sunlight. The top layer of the lake water distant from the shore. Shore से दूर, हम लोग away from the shore or the coast हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं. Distant from the coast is known as the limnitic zone. So यहाँ से away from the, so this area, surface water. Okay, top layer की बात कर रहे हैं. So zone covers a large portion of lake surface, yet it only extends as deep as sunlight can penetrate. So ये जो zone की बात कर रहे हैं हम लोग, top post zone. So जहां तक तुम्हारा light can penetrate. So this is up to a depth of 200 meters. So light can penetrate only up to this much depth. Right? Beneath this top layer, जहां तक तुम्हारा light penetrate कर सकता है up to 200 meters depth. Below that you have profundal zone, is deep water zone towards the lake's bottom where sunlight cannot reach. Is called as profundal zone. यहाँ पर photosynthesis possible नहीं है, so there is no plants or algae growing in this region. There are no producers in this zone. Okay. So bottom of the lake receives only light in the coastal parts. यहाँ पर नहीं होता है. So bottom of the lake receives sunlight near the coast where the water is shallow and plants can grow in the sediment. So most of sediment यहाँ से erosion के through वो सब sediment आके यहाँ पे deposit हुआ. So crayfish, snail, insects they are also found around the littoral zone. So around surrounding the plants in the littoral zone, you will see many animals, fauna. Okay. So static water bodies की बात करें तो lakes and ponds. So some ponds they appear and some ponds they remain for a long time depending upon the availability of water. If there is regular supply of water, inland drainage hai. Inland drainage means the rivers they do not go into oceans. So streams they will bring the water to a basin where there is a depression where water is getting accumulated. So some ponds they're ephemeral. So these ponds they form during the rainy season and during the summer they will disappear. But some ponds or lakes they have large quantities of water and they are almost permanent. They remain for a long period of time. So because the lake or a pond is usually isolated from other water bodies, not all plants and animals can live in this freshwater biome. Okay. So these can be small or very large ponds or lakes. So there are many freshwater fishes in lakes and ponds, just as there are many in the rivers and streams. Okay. So they provide water source for the animals living in that area. So terrestrial animals, land animals also, they have to drink the water from these water bodies. Fishes or all the aquatic animals, they are living inside the water and somehow. So static bodies, lakes and ponds. Next is wetlands. So this is marshland or marshy area where the water has submerged the soil or waterlogged soils बोल सकते हो where there is the soil is saturated with water. So wetland. So these are the areas with standing water, saturated water, saturated land बोल सकते हो उसको. So swamps, bogs, marshland, floodplains, prairie, potholes. These are the examples of your wetlands. So all over the world, wherever you have large lakes in the surrounding area, you can see these wetlands. They are important because they prevent flooding because they can absorb large quantities of water. So excess runoff को वो absorb कर लेते हैं. So they can prevent flooding. They can also help in purification of water. So water when it percolates and it goes down and it will enter into the water table. So when the water is moving down and entering into the water table during this percolation, when the water is moving down through the pores into the water table, it gets filtered. All the suspended particles they will get filtered. So hydrophytes are plants that live in the wetlands. So they can tolerate water submerged conditions or flooded conditions. So wetlands, they are also home for many amphibians. Okay, many fauna, they live in the wetlands. So amphibians, many reptiles, mammals, birds, beavers, minks, raccoons, deers, they are some of the examples. So that was your static freshwater biomes. Then you have running freshwater biomes. So you have rivers and streams. Okay. So streams and rivers, they are running water bodies. Streams are smaller than the rivers. Okay. So these can form by surface runoff. So whenever excess rainfall is there, some of the rainfall that is received, it will be absorbed by the soil. Some will go as runoff. So these runoff water, the small streams from the runoff will merge to form your tributaries and rivers. Okay, so water source can be melting of glaciers, or it can be rainfall, excess rainfall going as runoff. So it can be spring water seeping out of ground, or it can be melt of glacier, or it can be excess runoff. So water will flow according to the gradient from the higher levels to the lower levels, right? As it runs across the land, water joins other streams, and finally the water volume increases and it will turn into river. It will ultimately drain into ocean or a sea or a pond. Inland system है, inland drainage है तो lake में जाके deposit हो जाएगा the water. If it is not an inland system, the river will drain into the oceans. So rivers and streams, these are your running freshwater biomes. So a river or stream is a body of water that runs one way, so from top to bottom, so higher levels to lower levels. Okay, so the water is always in motion. So water at the source, so temperature at the source is lower than temperature at the mouth. So obviously most of the rivers, like in case of Himalayan rivers, they originate by melting of glaciers, right? So temperatures at the origin of the rivers is low compared to the temperature of water at the mouth of the river, that is at the delta. Okay, so all right, so the flora of freshwater biome, the plants that are seen in the freshwater biome. So these are in freshwater biome, two common plants are grasses and sedge. So sedge मैंने बताया तुमको, sedges are also type of grass, but here the stem it is triangular. Stem जो है वो ऐसे round नहीं होता है. Generally your stem is round, right? ऐसे. But here the stem is triangular in case of sedges. So trees are not very common in these locations. However, you can see them, but very few trees are there. Mostly you have your grasses and sedges. Other plants include mangroves, spike rush, water lily, cattail, bulrush, pickerel weed. So you have spike rush. Okay. And then you have water lily. Okay. You have cattail. Then you have bulrush, pickerel weed. So these are some of the aquatic plants or the plants that live in the freshwater biome. So fauna, what kind of animals live here? Frogs, mosquitoes, turtles, raccoons, shrimp, crab, tadpoles. So larva of frog is called as tadpole. Snakes, these are some of the animals that you commonly see in freshwater biome. Okay. Now, marine biomes. Okay. So these are aquatic biomes that has higher salt concentration. So marine biomes are bodies of water with salt concentration 3.5% or above. Okay, so marine ecosystems with salt water, these are the largest aquatic ecosystems. They are large water bodies, oceans and seas. So freshwater habitats, they contain less salt water. Marine biomes, they have higher amount of salt. So three major marine biomes. So जो aquatic biome hai, it is very large. Again, in the marine biome, the ocean is very deep. Okay, and within the ocean again you have smaller, or you can say subcategories. So marine biome जो है, it can be divided into subcategories. Okay, so you have neritic biome. Again, you have subcategories within the marine biome. There are, because these are the different regions of the ocean and they have different conditions. So temperatures, pressure, light conditions, they are all different in these regions. So neritic biome, you have oceanic, and you have benthic. So neritic biome, it is on the continental shelf. That means not very deep water. So continental shelf पे जो पानी है, so the extension of the continents into the ocean. So continental shelf जो भी है, वो वाला region पूरा हम लोग उसको बोलते हैं neritic biome. So this is the continental shelf. This entire water body which is present above the continental shelf, this is neritic biome. Okay. Then you have oceanic biome, that is beyond the continental shelf. That is oceanic biome. And benthic is the bottom. Ocean bottom is the benthic biome. Okay. So marine biome can be divided into different regions because conditions are very different. So benthic region जो है, benthic zone, here the conditions are totally different. So sunlight penetration will not be there. The flora and fauna that you see is totally different here. Flora तो चलो होता नहीं है, fauna basically is totally different. Pressure conditions, temperature conditions, they are very different. Light does not penetrate to depths. So conditions are very different. So again, you can divide the marine biome into different sub biomes depending upon the prevailing conditions. Oceanic biome is different, and neritic biome, where shallow water is there on the continental shelf, it is totally different. Most of the animals, they live in the neritic and oceanic biome. Benthic biome mein the diversity is very less. Very few organisms can survive these conditions. Okay. So other than these three, you have intertidal zones between the high tide and low tide. जो difference है, हाई टाइड में जहां तक पानी आता है, लो टाइड में जहां पर पानी होता है, जो डिफरेंस बिटवीन हाई टाइड एंड लो टाइड जो है, that is intertidal zone. Then estuaries, when your rivers they meet the oceans, so that region it has a totally different salt concentration is not that high because the fresh water is meeting the saline water. Marsh conditions होते हैं but salt concentration is relatively less. That is totally different kind of environment. Then coral reefs, so these are other smaller biomes within the aquatic or the within the marine biome. Marine biome के अंदर भी with then we have sub biomes depending upon the conditions. So पहले neritic biome देखते हैं यहाँ पर कैसे होते हैं conditions. So neritic biomes are found in ocean water around the continental shelf. तो ये वाला रीजन कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ में जो बायोम है, सब बायोम, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज नीरिटिक बायोम. So they extend from low tide water line to the continental shelf edge. So ये हाई टाइड वाला लाइन है, दिस इज लाइन ऑफ हाई टाइड. ये वाला हाई टाइड वाला लाइन है, ये लो टाइड वाला लाइन है. ये बीच में जो है ना जोन, ये बोलते हैं इंटरटाइडल जोन. दिस इज द इंटरटाइडल जोन बिटवीन द लाइन ऑफ हाई टाइड एंड लो टाइड. दिस नैरो रीजन इट इज कॉल्ड एज इंटरटाइडल जोन. सो लो टाइड वाला जो तुम्हारा लाइन है, मार्जिन है, वहां से लेकर कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ के एड्ज तक जो जोन है, इट इज कॉल्ड एज नीरिटिक जोन. Okay, so this entire zone is called as neritic zone. Are you following? It is very simple. So diagrams, they are self-explanatory. So because the water is shallow here, sunlight can penetrate. Enough sunlight will be there for photosynthesis. Water is also high in nutrients because sediments, they bring lot of nutrients from the land. So as the river meets the ocean, so it brings lot of sediments and nutrients. So यहाँ पर nitrogen, phosphorus amount भी ज़्यादा होता है. So it is rich in nutrients. Water can penetrate. So यहाँ पर photosynthesis carry on होता है and lot of plants, they can survive in this kind of environment. So water is also high in nutrients, which has been washed from the neighboring land. So because of these favorable conditions, neritic biomes support high concentration of phytoplankton. तो नीरिटिक बोलते ही कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ के ऊपर जो पानी है, सो लो टाइड वाला जो मार्जिन है वहां से लेकर फ्रॉम द लो टाइड मार्जिन टिल edge of continental shelf, the entire region is called as neritic biome. Shallow water, rich in nutrients, sunlight can penetrate, so photosynthesis. All right. So they can generate adequate food, so they can support lot of creatures. Zooplankton and necton. So zooplanktons, necton का मतलब है nectons. अच्छा. Okay. Nectons are those animals which can actively swim. Phytoplanktons and zooplanktons, they're very small. So tides can move them. So they move passively. So their movement depends upon the waves or the tides or wind. So they move passively. So other agencies, when they move the water, along with the water, they will also move. They are your phytoplanktons and zooplanktons. They don't move actively. वो पानी जो मूव होता है उसके साथ मूव होते हैं. नेक्टन्स, दे कैन स्विम ऑन देयर ओन, जैसे टर्टल्स हैं, फिशेस हैं, दे कैन एक्टिवली स्विम ऑन देयर ओन without depending upon the wind or the waves. So as a result, neritic biome have higher biomass and diversity. Okay. So neritic biomes are home to most of the world's major salt water fishing locations. So these are rich in nutrients, so plant growth, वो सब, plenty of planktons will be there, so they can support other forms of life. So fishes, they thrive in this zone. So that was your neritic biome on the continental shelf. So beyond the continental shelf, so you have your oceanic zone. So oceanic biomes are found beyond the continental shelf in the open sea. So यहाँ पर dissolved nutrients कम है because they are away from the coast. So ocean zone has lower organism density than neritic zone. Oceanic zone is further subdivided depending upon the amount of sunlight that can penetrate. So based on the depth of the sea, your oceanic biome is again divided into different zones. Oceanic biome को again हम लोग different zones में divide कर सकते हैं. So you have your epipelagic zone. Okay, then you have bathypelagic. Then you have abyssopelagic. Then you have hydropelagic zone. So epipelagic zone जो है, it is top 200 meters, up to top 200 meters depth in the ocean. Then bathypelagic is you can say from 1000 meters to 4000 meters depth. Then abyssopelagic is 4000 meters to 6000 meters, and more than 6000 meters depth, it is called as hadopelagic. So depending upon the depth, again your oceanic biomes can be divided into different regions. So epipelagic क्या है यहाँ पर? Up to 200 meters. So epipelagic zone में different animals तुमको मिलेंगे. You will have different type of flora in the epipelagic zone. So dolphin, fishes, turtles, you will see all these things. Then bathypelagic zone extends from 1000 to 4000 meters below the sea level. So sunlight does not penetrate below the 1000 meters level. The zone is completely dark. तो ये जोन थोड़ा तुम्हारा डार्क है, बैथीपेलाजिक जोन बोलते हैं. So you have this bathypelagic zone. So octopuses, sea stars, viperfish. So these are some common animals. So abyssopelagic में 4000 to 6000 meters below the sea level, it is called as abyssopelagic. So anglerfish, black swallower. So these are some animals. Then you have hadopelagic zone in the deep oceans beyond 6000 meters. So यहाँ पर तुमको ट्यूब वॉर्म्स मिलेंगे. These are annelids, tube worms. Okay. So hadopelagic, you have sea cucumbers. These are some of the examples that you see at this level. Then अब oceanic biome हो गया. Benthic biome means bottom of the sea. Now sea का bottom बोल रहे हैं. अब देखो sea का bottom means this bottom can be here also. ये भी तो bottom ही है. Bottom of the ocean ही है ये भी तो bottom of the ocean ही है, ये वाला part भी. हाँ, and this zone also is bottom of the sea. पर bottom कहां पर? So benthic zones are again divided into different types depending upon the bottom. Is it near the coast, or the bottom of continental shelf, or bottom of deep sea? Benthic biomes are again of different types. So benthic biomes are found at the ocean bottom, where benthonic organisms they live. So some of the examples are sponges. So these are sessile, they cannot move, and they reside glued to the ocean floor. Some benthos such as clams, these are bivalves. Bivalves, these are, they dig through the ocean floor sediments and they attach themselves. Okay. Shelled animals. So bivalves. So depending upon, the benthic zone is further subdivided depending upon how much below the sea level the bottom is. So ocean bottom बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन ये ocean bottom जो है वो किस level पे है? Ocean bottom बोल रहे हैं, but at what level this ocean bottom is present? So you have sub littoral zone, ये continental shelf. Sublittoral zone near the continental shelf. So ocean bottom, but at the continental shelf. Then you have bathyl. ये continental slope है. So this slope की बात कर रहे हैं, continental slope region. Then you have abyssal zone, ये deep ocean है, deep ocean floor. Then you have hadal zone, ये oceanic trench पे, deep oceanic trenches, वहां पे जो bottom है, that is called as hadal zone. Oceanic trenches, they are very deep, deeper than the mountain ranges. So again ओशन का जो फ्लोर बोल रहे हैं हम लोग, बॉटम ऑफ द ओशन बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन ये बॉटम ऑफ द ओशन तो ये भी है, बॉटम ऑफ द ओशन तो ये भी है, ये भी बॉटम ऑफ द ओशन है, राइट? सो benthic zone is the bottom of the ocean, but depending upon where the bottom is present at different levels in the ocean, there can again be of different types: sublittoral zone, bathyal zone, abyssal zone, and hadal zone. The sublittoral zone is the ocean floor near the shoreline that compasses of the continental shelf. Bathyal zone is ocean floor that forms the continental slope. Abyssal zone is the ocean floor, deep ocean floor at 4,000 6,000 meters level, and your hadal zone is the oceanic trenches below 6,000 meters. Okay, so in the hadal zone, tube worms and clams, they live. Okay, they feed on the archaea bacteria. So near the hydrothermal vents, जहां से तुम्हारा volcanic eruption हो रहा है. Okay, so they feed on the archaea bacteria. Now intertidal zone है, so this is the zone between the margin between the high tide and low tide. तो ये हाई टाइड वाला मार्जिन है, ये लो टाइड वाला मार्जिन है. सो इन दोनों के बीच का जो ये जोन है, दिस इज कॉल्ड एज इंटरटाइडल जोन. शॉर्ट स्ट्रिप ऑफ लैंड बिटवीन हाई टाइड एंड लो टाइड वाटर लाइंस इज नोन एज इंटर. It is also known as littoral zone. So regular passage of tides in and out is a prominent aspect of this zone. Okay, this happens twice. So the zone alternates between being underwater at high tide and exposed to air during the low tide. Okay, so high tide brings coastal water with heavy supply of dissolved nutrients. Is also abundant. There is also abundant sunshine for photosynthesis. So this is shallow water. Okay, it keeps the bigger predators out of the intertidal zone. Shallow water है तो sharks या फिर whales यहाँ पर नहीं आ सकते. It is very shallow water. Estuary is where your river meets the ocean. So यहाँ पर salt content भी जो है तुम्हारा moderate होता है. So water is nutrient rich from river and shallow enough to allow sunlight to penetrate and carry on the photosynthesis. Salt water concentration is also moderate. It is not very saline because यहाँ पर fresh water and saline water mix हो रहा है. Coming to the coral reefs, this is last plant and animal adaptations we will see in the next class, and we will start succession. So we will see ecological succession in the next class along with your plant fauna and flora. So coral reefs, this is the last one. So coral reef is underwater limestone structure. So coral reef, they are formed by small invertebrates. Okay, so they are called as anthozoans. Okay, so Cnidaria, they belong to phylum Cnidaria. These anthozoans, what they are sessile in their adult stage, so they are sedentary in their adult stage. In the larval stage, they can swim a bit. So fertilization takes place in the water where sperm and the egg will meet and embryo will develop and you will have a larval stage. So this larval stage will swim, and during this swimming they will capture the zooxanthellae or your algae. So algae will be captured by this organism, okay, and it will settle down at a place. So because it is soft bodied and it cannot move, it is sessile, so it has to protect its body, so it will secrete a calcium carbonate shell around its body. So when the organism dies, the shell will remain. So the other young organisms, they will settle down on the older colonies, and in this way the reef will build up, coral reef. So these are called as evergreen forest. Okay, so they are known as tropical forest of the oceans because the diversity is very high. So they are called as tropical forest of the oceans because tropical forest, the one of the main characteristic is it is very rich in biodiversity. In the same way, coral reefs, they're also very rich in biodiversity. They can support a lot, many species of fishes and other type of organisms. So coral reefs, they can be found in shallow tropical ocean water. So they require a particular temperature, and so for the algae to photosynthesize, light is required. So shallow waters में ही वो survive करते हैं. So corals release, or they produce calcium carbonate to construct their exoskeleton. So they will secrete it from the oceans. Calcium ions are present, and carbonate ion, they will produce carbonate ion, and calcium they will capture from the ocean water, and they will secrete calcium carbonate shell. So corals, they live in colonies, and the skeleton material accumulates over time to form the reef. Okay, and they are very rich in biodiversity. So let us look into plant and animal adaptation in the next session. So it will is a there are not much slides. Yeah, so 10 slides are there. So when we will go through the plant and animal adaptations, so once we do that, we can start ecological succession. So let us meet again day after tomorrow. So day after tomorrow we'll start ecological succession. Okay, we'll complete this and we'll go through ecological succession. After that, we'll do the nutrient cycle. So we'll complete all the nutrient cycles at once. Then we will officially finish your ecology part, and we will go through biodiversity. Okay, so let us meet day after tomorrow. Thank you.